Yo, what's happening? What is going on? Man, it is good to be back. I am so happy to be here with you this morning. Thank you for joining me, John Farmer, the host of the One Carolina Show and Mint Street Mondays, brought to you by the One Carolina Show. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe button, and bell notification so you never miss a video. I will go a little bit over, won't keep it long-winded, over my absence from last week, especially on such a huge victory. I got to tell you, there is nobody that was more upset that I had to miss last week than me. But, it happened nonetheless. So I had a little bit of sickness, dealt with a little bit of pneumonia. I do have some pre-existing health conditions. So anytime something like that happens, the letters ICU have to get thrown out there. So, yes, I was in ICU for about, I'd say 5 days. And so feeling much better now, much refreshed. Obviously, it's going to take a minute to, really kind of get fully acclimated back to my normal self. But I am here nonetheless and ready to rock. So, man, thank y'all so much for rocking with me this morning, man. I appreciate y'all so much. Good morning, Nicole. Yes, I'm doing much better. Thank you. Thank you so much. My man Chief Thomas Dickerson says, man, the Cowboys video we would do for a 2-1. So, yeah, I may go over some of that stuff, man. I'm going to stick with, what the situation at hand. But I appreciate you still rocking with me, man. Yes, Tubbs, I was in the hospital. Yes, indeed. Rare Gamer says, is Bryce really the Carolina Reaper? That's interesting. We shall see. Bryce is like Franklin Saint, bodies. I hear you, QJ. That's what's up. My man Poppin, salute to you, man. Appreciate you being here. My mod, the day one, JP, what's good, man? Appreciate y'all so much for being here with me today. So, I ain't gonna keep it super long-winded, but I got to start the show off on BS. Like I got to, right? I saw something. And I thought this was very interesting. And to me, the thing that makes this the most fascinating is like when you think about the list that the New York Jets, from a fan perspective, right? From a player perspective, and even from most fans, right? If we're just being honest, most fans probably don't even really care about this. But there was a lot of people out here, and I thought this was interesting. I'd like to know who was the person that set this up. Because in my mind, I'm like, yo, you got a whole list of ops before you even get to Carolina, right? Let's start with op number one. The fact that y'all ain't had a franchise quarterback since what, 1970? We can start there. Let's start with op number two. The fact that you've been either third or fourth in your division for the last, 15 years. So it's a whole lot of people that you got to get to before you get to us for you to be doing this. If you don't happen to see what's happening here, and I'm sure you guys have all seen this, if this is your first time seeing it, then, you're seeing it. Burning a Bryce Young jersey. I find that, not just fascinating, but crazy, right? Because like I said, it's a whole lot of ops you got to get to before you even get to us. We are way down on the list, right? But then it kind of helps you understand the lowest class of the NFL. The lowest, talking about, look, I know we've been bad for a number of years, right? But, ours is a climb back. Man, y'all been bad since, gosh. So when did Rex Ryan get fired, right? Because that was the last time it was, consistent, if you will, right? But this has been the lowest rung of the NFL. And we just packed up your quarterback. And we about to pack up your coach. And we did it in your city. And I'm playing the drop that's the most famous drop in your city, period. Pack. Get them out of here. You already know what time it is with us. Goofies. Non-Cops Kid said, who was that on the music? Oh, D'Angelo, man. If y'all don't know, D'Angelo, I'm sure many of my, Gen, what would you call them? Gen X, maybe? Y? Gen Y? I don't know. Know exactly who D'Angelo is. D'Angelo was an artist that passed away last week. Amazing R&B soul artist. If you haven't listened to the Brown Sugar album, not just the song, the whole album, go check it out. But yeah, man, D'Angelo, rest in peace to D'Angelo, passed away last week. But anyway, let's get to it. I just thought that was interesting, man. Like I said, you got a whole list of people you got to get to before you even get to us. Like the audacity. Like, I mean, the teams that have jumped ahead of you. The Patriots lost their quarterback, lost their coach, hired another coach, drafted another quarterback, and are at the top of the division. And y'all can't even sniff it. Usually when these kind of things happen, you would think like, okay, this is our chance, right? We got an opportunity here. But not the Jets, because that's what y'all do. Anyway, I hate to shoot at the Jets. I got people in my family that's Jets fans, man. I ain't mean to shoot at the Jets, man, but burning a BY jersey is nuts. Nah, we ain't doing that. We are not doing that. Anyway. All right. So, start us off. It would be remiss of me not to start where, we should start, which is with the two most meaningful performances of the day. It's funny, I was watching the Nebraska game Friday night, and, watching this kid, Timu Mahomes. He got so many different names, right? But the kid is good, Dylan Raiola. He's a good quarterback. But watching him and just watching Matt Rule, who's lost a ton of weight, by the way, which is kind of trying to work on myself. But Matt Rule and just his, the things that he did do here, I know that he gets a terrible rap, here, and rightfully so. I'm not here to, defend Matt Rule. This ain't the Defend Matt Rule podcast. But I will say that it did kind of pop into my head when I was watching that game. I was like, man, the two guys that are still on this roster from the Matt Rule era, Derek Brown and J.C. Horn, I hope they have a really good game, because, these are two guys that, just like every other player that's drafted, people don't want to admit to it. People won't want to say it. But, like, there were people that had, major questions. People questioned Derek Brown and his, I wouldn't say availability, but they just, because what he does, and instead of until this year, of course, right, and even last year, and the year before, not last year when he was hurt, but the year before that, leading the league in tackles as a D tackle, which is insane. I mean, the most all time, I should say. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet a lot with him, but I'm glad it's starting to now, right? Because, I mean, like, watching him chase Justin Fields to the opposite sideline was insane, right? To be a man that big. And it makes you wonder, like, he's reached a whole nother level in his game, right? The kind of, when you start producing from a sack perspective, then it starts to turn into that Chris Jones, Aaron Donald kind of level. And, I mean, who knows? Is he developing to that point because of the running mates that he has now? It's possible, right? So, that remains to be seen. But just seeing the effort from him, or J.C. Horn, who battled injury like crazy, and I used to always talk about this. Like, I beat the drum pause for J.C. Horn mainly because I'm like, yo, this is too familiar to us, right? We have been here before. We've had Thomas Davis, who was hurt, ACL after ACL, and went on to have an incredible career, right? So, to me, I think sometimes, not sometimes, really all the time, we kind of do this a little bit too quickly with a player. But I also understand from a fan perspective because it's like, man, we don't really have time to wait to win. But I'm glad it's all coming together now, because now that it is coming together, it's incredible, right? And, I know we don't like to do this, but it's about to be a Zero Flower Day again. I'm sorry. This is a post that comes from Thomas World on X, at Thomas World. It says the Panthers defense in 2025, 39.1% success rate. That's second in the league. 29.8 rush success rate. That's first in the league. Hey, man, this run defense is unbelievable, right? And if you can stop the run and you can run the ball, that creates a really, really, really difficult opportunity for your opponents, right? Despite who is behind center, regardless of who is, any of that. But we'll get to that in a second. Not that that's a bad thing, because it's a great thing, actually. But 44.2% pass success rate, that's seventh. 295 yards allowed, that's seventh. 21 points given up, that's 12th. 203 passer rating, that's 10th. I mean, you are literally, for the exception of 17 touchdowns allowed, you're in the top 15 or top 10 in pretty much every statistical category if you're a defense. That deserves a round of applause for Ejiro Evero. Yes. And not just him. Not just him. I was telling someone last night, I thought this was, the way that Dan Morgan has put this team together. If this is what we have to look forward to, because I think where it can get difficult is when you have so much talent and then you've got 7-8 picks, available to you in your next draft. What do you do? Who do you draft? I mean, many people would say, and I would agree with this, best player available, right? Or double up on some positions. I still think that linebacker is something that I would address, especially from the Roseboom perspective, because, man, look, I don't know. I watched Thomas Davis's, bit on the Panthers huddle. I don't know what Thomas and Luke or whoever else has been doing to help Trevin Wallace, but, man, it sure has been working, because this defense doesn't become what it is without him, the maestro, right? Get the green dot, lead things, and, man, he's been, look, has it been perfect? No, but, man, it's been good. It's been sometimes really good. So salute to Trevin Wallace for the changeover he's made. It's helped, Christian Roseboom significantly, but I just wonder, like, man, what would happen if you have like a, what's the kid from Ohio State? Is it Avril Lee? Did I say that right? One of those guys is just a reckless abandonment kind of guy, or even looking back, like, man, can you imagine if like the swap was Trevin and then the person that had like the opportunity to just kind of play freely was Frankie Louvu, from the past? Like, that would be insane. But not trying to look back or, revisionist history or anything like that. The main thing is like, man, I'm just super excited for what this defense can become. I mean, because we already see what it is, right? And it's only going to get better from here, right? You're only going to get more development. I think one of the biggest things, and I was watching some of the All-22 tape this morning. I can't really show that stuff here because they'll, ding you or whatever. But as I was watching some of that this morning, I was like, man, really one of the biggest things that has been a huge change is just that edge setting, right? Whether it's coming from DJ Wanham, whether it's coming from Nick Scorton, who's played phenomenal, by the way. Princely Umamielin, who's played great, by the way. Like, so that edge being set and then getting that interior pressure is just something, it's a thing of beauty. It really is. There was a play where Justin Fields could have took off, strong side. You got a tight end lined up. You got two, guard tackling there. I mean, it looked like, okay, this is one of those plays where Justin can get away from you, and then Nick Scorton just sets the edge so Justin goes the other direction, boom, gets tackled by Derrick Brown, And it's like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see. Seeing that from, even in the running game, it was the same thing, right? And so while, yes, Nick Scorton got, sack and a half, salute to Nick Scorton for finally getting, sack and a half or whatever. But to me, it's like, with the Scorton thing, it's not nearly as important. I've always been a guy, personally, I can't, speak for other people, but I've been a guy who thinks that pressures are more important than sacks, because I've seen teams, for example, the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Milton Williams just got a humongous contract from the, New England Patriots, which we were trying to get him as well, right? And his pressure rate was insane, right? But they didn't have tons of sacks. Like, I want to say the highest sack total on their team last year was like 8 or 9, right? So it was like, I think Nolan Smith had like 9 sacks or something like that. You guys can fact check me on that. But the point is that it wasn't like a super heavy sack total, but the pressure was off the charts. I told you. I think part of the reason that he was on our board so much outside of, just the reality of what he was the fact that in that game, man, that we played against them, he was the one that was disruptive. They kept like pulling doubles together to double him, not Jalen Carter. In the end zone when Bryce is running around, makes that incredible throw to Xavier Legette, who we will also talk about in a moment. Yeah, I mean, that was one of those situations where, you doubling him like crazy because you just couldn't stop him. He was just reckless, right? And we see that happening up in New England right now. And that's what I'm thinking, like, man, obviously being 4-3 cannot be understated. But I think about, like, if things, we still end up in that top, 12, 13, 14, whatever, as far as picks are concerned, like, man, adding a guy like Peter Woods, another, interior dog that, that could be interesting. So we got 88 people watching between 2 platforms. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Thank you for joining me on the One Carolina show this morning. Let's go through some of these comments. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a chance to go back through and read some. Caleb Dixon says, Happy Victory Monday. Yes, indeed. What's up, Dub? My man says, it's good to see you back, Brody. Stay hydrated. Keep getting stronger. I appreciate it. T. Thompson says, we definitely need to draft a linebacker early. Agreed. There's some I like out there a lot. Dizzy Lizard says, what's the reason for the defense turnaround? Anyone know? New guys, DB being held back, JC being healthy, Trayvon Morgan addition, Trayvon Wallace with the mic. I think a lot of all of that. I think that, shout out to Mike K. Mike K kind of called it shot. I don't know if you guys watch the Process and Blue podcast with Mike K and Alex Zietlow, but he talked about it. He said, I feel like this might be the Trayvon Morgan game, and it surely was. Like Trayvon Morgan, and I'm going to tell you what I love even more, man. Part of what you're talking about, what makes the defense better. I love Xavier Legette dialing up the blitz, like not being afraid to get pressure. Now, historically, and I mean, he still kind of does this to a degree, and we got a lot of good defensive line play, but like historically, Xavier Legette likes to get pressure with 4 and just have a blanket coverage. But, I mean, hey, look, when they go dime, they're bringing him up as that, kind of dime backer, if you will, and turning them loose. And so, yeah, that's been a huge thing, and I can't think that can't be understated. So yeah, the new guys, I think Bobby Brown playing out of his mind, Ashawn Robinson, still playing at the high level that he was last year. Turk Wharton kind of coming back into form. We've seen it more this game, right? And so yeah, and then like you said, Trayvon Wallace with the mic, or Trevin Wallace, excuse me, with the mic. Yeah, that's the thing. So Scott R says, yeah, the tough part is coming. Maybe. Oso Carolina says, I'm not ready to stamp this team until we start beating teams like the Rams, 49ers, Bills, and Bucks. Okay, this is where I would say it's a little bit different for me, right? I'm glad you brought up the point. Thank you for commenting, Oso Carolina. I disagree, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's just as important for you to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, right? A game like yesterday where, Jets defense is, being pretty stingy, Sauce Gardner, I won't say he's locking T-Mac up, but it's, look, you need somebody else to step up. Somebody else did. We'll get to him in a second, right? But every NFL game, like, look, this is still the NFL. Like, you see it. It is literally at any given Sunday, right? The Falcons get beat last night. We beat the Falcons, 0-30, but then they beat Buffalo, right? Which I think that we can do the same thing because they kind of gave you a formula on how to do it. But the point is that these guys are all professionals. All these guys were high on somebody's draft board, or all these guys were overachievers, like, whether you want to call Rico an overachiever or not. But yeah, I mean, these guys, like, they're all good. So I think it's important to be able to beat the teams because a culture setter like Carolina, like, look, we were 0-3 on the road to this point, right? I know it's the Jets, but that's one of those trap games. That's one of those games where we saw it. You go home, beat Atlanta 30-0. You're feeling yourself. You go to New England and get absolutely trounced, which, look, New England has proved to be a really good team this year, right, so far. And I think that's going to continue. But to beat us that bad, do I think we're that bad of a team? No, I don't. I think that it's just that a young team has to learn how to win. And yesterday was one of those moments. Look, this thing could have flipped. Without J.C. Horn heroics, without, edge setting, without sacks, it could have flipped because it was wide open for them to, especially, down the stretch. When Bryce gets hurt, it's wide open for them to come back, but it didn't. So I think it's very important for a team to establish themselves, to learn how to win games like this so that they can get to the point to do what you want them to do, and that's beat the Rams, 49ers, Bills, and Bucks, right? So salute to you for that. All right, let's see. QJ Smith says, nobody wide receiver on the Bills roster put any fear in my heart. Hopefully Bryce will be able to play. I think we can blow out Buffalo. I mean, I like the energy, man. I love the energy. Just pulling up, Trey Willis says, glad to see you back in good health. Man, I appreciate it. Yes, indeed. I am back in good health. Yes, I appreciate it, man. 109 people watching between 2 platforms, 32 likes. Let's make sure to smash that like button. Thank y'all so much for being with me on this day. All right. So yeah, like I was talking about, man, when we go to our defense, man, Trayvon Morgan, 6 tackles, 3 solo tackles, and a sack, and a tackle for loss. That is a huge, huge stat line, right? Cannot be undersold, his value. And primarily that value comes when he drops down into the box and becomes, the next, I wouldn't call him the next great Carolina linebacker, but, he's taking on that role. It kind of makes you wonder, like, I don't know what's up with, like, Jeremy Chin or where he is now or whatever, but it kind of makes you wonder if he would have been more embracing to a role like that, and I think maybe he was, or maybe his euro has just changed, man. It's hard to say definitively, but I just know Trayvon Morgan has looked amazing, right? Mike Jackson. I mean, Mike Jackson held his own. He had 4 tackles, Mike Jackson didn't really, he didn't get burnt too many times. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it was, that's what you want. Mike Jackson had kind of his, get back game, because last week it was a little tough for him. You know what I'm saying? Shao Smith-Wade, played well. 3 tackles, 3 solo tackles, Princely, man, I think one of the things that I love seeing more than anything is just energy feeds energy. Nick and Princely kind of are a combo that works together really well. I kind of have this with, I used to do this at work, man. Like, I love the competition of when I'm selling, right? Like, we start really having that like hardcore competition between each other. Like, okay, you got 1 car. Oh, I'm gonna go get 2. Oh, you got 2 cars? Bet. Hat trick. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, so you start seeing that effort. That's when you start seeing Princely chasing people down the sideline and stuff like that. So, when you see Nick, getting off or whatever. So it's really cool to see how these guys have worked together really well. I'm glad that that's happening. And I think that will continue. That'll continue to grow and develop. These guys have some really, really high level talent. They do. And I think they're more talented than their draft position suggests. And I think this is only going to get better, for them. So salute to the Panthers defense, man, holding it down. All right. So the question that everyone has been asking, myself included, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit concerned. I am. I'm a bit concerned. Will Bryce play this week? We all saw the injury. It looked like, maybe turf, maybe kicked, could be a couple of different things that happen, in that situation. But I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I'm concerned because if there ever was a week that we do need you, it is this week. If he doesn't play, I mean, you would hope that Andy Dalton has the same magic that he had against the Raiders, and maybe that's what you get from him, and not what you got from him against Atlanta or Cincinnati or, Chicago. But regardless, we got to roll with the hand that we got. So that's pretty much all we got. But, when I was reading an article, shout out to Cat Crave. Cat Crave with the article, let's see here. They says this is what Dave Canales says. I didn't give a whole lot away, stating that it's a wait-and-see scenario until all the information is accumulated. And I'm sure that that'll either happen while we're live right now, or it'll happen when the press conferences start at some point around like noon or 1 o'clock, something like that. The head coach expressed confidence in Andy Dalton's ability to fill the void effectively behind Carolina's exceptional rushing attack. We're evaluating for the ankle, so we're taking all the information and we're going to look at him and we get home some more and see where we're at. We'll look at it and see what the best version of us is. But right now, it's running the football, and Andy can handle all those things in the pass game, the reps, the time on task, with the group that we have. We've got to stay within the core of our system, and Andy's fully involved in all of that. So if he does play, that'll be the mode. Salute to Dave Canales for saying that. But all right, so there's 2 things that I have that I want to talk about surrounding just that in and of itself. And at some point, my co-host will tap in with me, Brad, and we'll kind of go a little bit further into this. But number one, elephant in the room. We all saw it. Xavier Legette looked like a completely different receiver when Andy Dalton was throwing him the ball. He just did, right? It's hard to say what that really is. I guess to me, the only thing that I could possibly say in that regard is that, 1, they do have better chemistry, obviously, but 2, Andy Dalton's not afraid to, get the ball down the field consistently, right? That was a huge play to ice the first down or to ice the game, right? And so I think Xavier Legette is capable of making more plays like that, but not at the expense of saying that, okay, well, Andy Dalton, because this was I posted something on X, and all I said was the think pieces are going to be, extremely interesting this week of people talking about the XL and Andy Dalton situations, and we're talking about it now. And man, there was this whole thread. I don't even know how many people were in it. There was one person that commented, and then there was this entire thread of people that were commenting, talking about how, Bryce is this and Bryce ain't that or whatever like that. And I'm like, all right, if you feel that way, cool. Bryce is a big reason why we're 4-3 right now. So, there's that. But I I think it's fair to say that there is a difference in what you see in productivity. And some of this can be multifaceted, right? Could it be that maybe the way that, Andy pushes the ball down the field, that helps? Maybe. Could it also be that, I was talking about this with Brad last night. I said, man, I've worked with people before that struggle to work with other people. And when they do, the way that they handle it is very telling of who they are as a person. Now, I'm not suggesting this with Excel at all, so I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. But I'm just stating like what I see, like what I've seen as a manager and in a managerial role, and what I've also seen just as a fellow, employee, if you will, like a regular worker bee, right? Sometimes when you don't like a manager, you might mail it in. Sometimes when you don't like a coworker, you give them the silent treatment. You don't talk to them, and if there's a rift, or some, and the rift don't even necessarily have to come from like something they said to you. It could be by how they perform. Maybe they make your job harder, right? It's possible that Bryce Young makes Xavier Legette's job significantly harder, right? And so when you see that, it makes you wonder, like, is there a different spark when somebody that you do like working with comes in, or when the boss gets fired that was really hard on you and somebody that you cool with comes in, even though those situations hardly ever work out. Because if you're like that with somebody that you're cool with, then it's lax and you're not really paying attention to detail, right? But the point is like, it does look different. And it makes you wonder if there is something there with that, right? I remember that clip from last year whenever Bryce got, benched and then Andy came in and, Xavier Legette mentioned something to the effect of, he really throws the ball like I like it, or throws, he was mainly talking about, more pressing the ball down the field. And if that's going to be XL's strength, then yeah, you do have to be in a situation where Bryce is more of a point guard, the throws are more underneath and stuff like that. But you do need to be able to push the ball down the field more. And I do think that that's a struggle for Bryce, right? If we're just being honest, in some respects. And that's something that I think can develop over time. But hey, if you're XL, you don't have the luxury of that kind of time, right? You need it now. And here you are in a situation. I think two things can be true. I'll say this. I think on one hand, Xavier Legette could probably still be a really good receiver. And if Andy Dalton gets to play this week, maybe we'll find that out. I mean, he had 92 yards yesterday on 11 targets, or 11 catches, I should say. And hey, you might get to find this out next week, or you go back to the status quo, right? So it'll be interesting to see what changes in the game plan, how that affects him. What there's not many secondaries you play as good as the one you played yesterday, right? So I think T-Mac will get, a little bit more active because there's not a Sauce Gardner out there. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works. But I'd like to hear what some of you guys have to say about that. Dimitri said, I'm just saying the fact that they yanked Bryce out shows how little they think he means to the offense. No QB is coming out of the game for that. I completely disagree. J.J. McCarthy is on IR right now for an ankle sprain. Bryce's whole thing is him moving around in the pocket, right? You know what I'm saying? Like getting outside the pocket, things like that, being able to move, twist, turn, all that kind of stuff. Those are things that you need your ankles for. Yes. So, no, I don't agree with that. I feel like Legette was having a pretty good day before Andy came in. I think he was too. Rico needs to be okay, we'll get to that in a second. Similar could be said we'll get to that in a second. All right, Tubb says, I think our D eats up the Buffalo's front and gets pressure on Josh. I think the same thing. Shout out to Miss Douglas. Andy's deep ball is better because Bryce is more, Bryce is more mobile. I would agree with that. Some people think that Andy is not that much of a downgrade. Some people would rather see Andy more than they see Bryce. And those some people are wrong and nuts. All right, but anyway. Look. I think that it can't be understated that if we looked at the scope of Andy Dalton's career and we look at the one game, now here's what I will say. This is fascinating. I'll say this. I've heard somebody make a comp of Teteroa McMillan, and I thought this was pretty accurate in my opinion, of Teteroa McMillan to AJ Green, right? And AJ Green's heyday was with Andy Dalton. So I do find it fascinating. I do think that it'll be interesting what happens. And yeah, if Andy Dalton gets to start, and he lights it up against Buffalo, it's not going to change. Bryce is still going to be your starter, but it will make you look at things a little different. Maybe not, depending on where you stand. But I wanted to play this really quick. I saw this last week, and I thought this was pretty good. This is Nick Saban talking about Bryce. And, when we have these conversations surrounding Bryce Young, when we talk about, he can't do this, he can't do that, whatever. And then the thread, this is really more a response to the thread that I saw yesterday on my comments, because I went back and read some of it. I didn't respond to it because a lot of it I didn't agree with. But this is just speaking to Bryce's resilience, and I really like this.
Bryce has the right psychological disposition to be successful, but I think one of the things that probably impacted Bryce a little bit in the beginning of his career is, Bryce is a point guard playing quarterback, and he can make all the throws and all the plays. He's athletic, but he's got to have some decent players around him, and I think when he first went to Carolina, they didn't have a very good supporting cast around him, which I think was a bit of a problem. I think now they've gotten some better weapons on offense. He can take advantage of those things. But, to Mike McCarthy's deal is, I always talked to players about being emotional versus playing with emotion. Playing with emotion is important from a competitive standpoint, and I think Bryce Young does that very, very well. But once you get emotional, you lose your ability to think and make good choices and decisions about what you do, whether it's getting a penalty, forcing a ball, making a bad throw, or whatever. And Bryce Young, to that point, he doesn't do that. He can stay where he needs to stay no matter what happens in the game. He never got frustrated when things didn't go well. He never got way up here when we were having a lot of success. And he always prepared the same way for every game. And I think that's what he's doing now. I think it's starting to pay off for their team. Bryce.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that point that he made about Bryce being a point guard and getting him the right – with Bryce, I think that it's the right kind of weapons, right? Like Xavier Legette may still be a really good receiver in this league, right? But he might not be the right kind of weapon for a Bryce Young. And maybe Jimmy Horn could be more the right kind of weapon. I do think if Bryce – I know Bryce would have loved to have that playback, because if he hits Jimmy out front just a little bit further, man, that could have been a huge game, possibly touchdown. There's been at least 2, maybe 3 plays that went to Jimmy where you're like, okay. And I think those are the type of players like that you need with a Bryce, right? Especially if you're going to be that point guard style, because point guards probably aren't going to like uncork the ball down the field. But hey, look, before Randy Moss and even after Randy Moss, that wasn't Brady's 10 to 15 yard intermediate accuracy won them multiple Super Bowls and a good run game and a great defense. So this can be done. It's just getting the right kind of guys in here. So that's fascinating. But anyway, let's go ahead and make that call. Talk to my man, Bradford. So I'm interested to see what Brad has to say about this Bryce thing, man, because this could be troublesome, man. Might be a little worrisome. We'll see what happens. My man.
What it do, my brother?
Man, we are so glad to be back on Mint Street Mondays, man. Salute to my guy, Brad. That is Bradford. That is the mayor of Watauga County. Hey, listen. All right, so we'll start here, man. Talked about the defense. I think that Carolina could possibly have a top 5 defense within the next couple of weeks, especially if they do the same thing that they done against these past 2 opponents to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. What say you?
Well, they definitely got to shore some things up, man. Like Trayvon had a really good game yesterday, but if you kind of look into the all 22, I mean, he missed a couple of tackles where he got next to the quarterback. And that was kind of in my mind. Like, I don't like to see Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields shaking him off, because I know Josh Allen's, in certain ways, a Big Ben kind of clone where, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to wrap him up. You got to finish the play.
Yeah.
And a lot of the off-script things he does after he breaks tackles are really dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of saw some of that yesterday where instead of a 7 to 4 yard loss, it ended up being a couple broke tackles, roll out, hit somebody who would kind of broke coverage for big gains. And that's just one thing I don't want to see next week. But definitely, I mean, people bringing their lunch pail. Shout out to Nick Scorton.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Princely. I mean, kid got folded up like laundry and then,
came right back.
Yeah. Came right back, set the edge, made plays.
Yeah.
Kind of seen Rose Boom out there, not as downhill as he was, in the previous weeks, but I mean, he still made some tackles. Trevin is, I wouldn't say he's a revelation yet, but like you were, saying earlier, I mean, his working with Kuechly, Dan Morgan, and Thomas Davis is really, really starting to show.
Yeah, it's paying off. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's always had the sideline speed, but the ability, they told him, basically in the interviews, they were saying, we're telling him play downhill, play faster, stop second guessing yourself. And we're seeing him in real time to the application of some of that advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and then, Derek Brown, I remember, the message boards and, man, why did we pick this guy this high? What a wasted pick. The impatience of fans. And, I get that. I mean, we've been a losing organization since, the early part of 2020. And so, I mean, I get those things. But, I mean, at this point, I mean, we've got a, Fletcher Cox, Aaron Donald type of difference maker. Like, seeing him run down Tyrod Taylor, 2 or 3 times yesterday, I haven't seen anything like that from a defensive tackle in years. And then, on the back end, man, I was losing my mind yesterday. Like, do not throw at J.C. Horn. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was saying, well, he was beat deep. Man, listen, he said I was playing underneath coverage. And they really did have coverage over the top with Scott. Even if the ball's a little more on time, someone's there to make that play. But for him to come back, one-armed interception, diving, the biggest thing about guys who play cornerback is they don't play receiver because of their hands. Jason's got hands.
Yeah. Big time.
And then finally, big shout out to Mike Jackson. I mean, people have been like, listen, we're going to throw at you literally every play because we don't want to throw at this other guy. And he led the team with, 3 passes defense. And just to see his attitude, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he really took some punches, in the gut last week with Dallas, you know what I'm saying? And George Pickens kind of just, I mean, really kind of ate him up to the point where, JC had to take over on the final drive. And he really bounced back this week with some tough play.
Hey, let me do this real quick. Just shout out to FPFO, man. I got to be honest with you, like that. I don't know if you've watched any of For Panther Fans Only. It is my new favorite show to watch. No lie. Like I ain't even gonna cap, man. Like JJ, Terrence, the kid that they always have like in the background. Like I think he's a Dallas fan. I can't remember his name, and forgive me for not getting your name right, bro. And then Dylan, who I think is who's running the account that's commenting right now, who's actually from Asheville, my hometown. And man, I'm telling you, dog, like they got one of the best, like, and it's funny, like, and it's hilarious to hear, like, especially like when JJ, who's kind of like the host, like crashes out on stuff, man. Like it's a really, really, really good pod, man. So if you get a chance, check out FPFO for Panther Fans Only. Salute to y'all boys, man. Appreciate you being here. But yeah, you talked about it, man. I think a lot of it, man, because Dizzy Lizard Production had commented and he said, which was it? What do you think? Where do you think the change came in? Is it like 1 or 2 players? Is it, a change in philosophy? And honestly, man, like, I don't think there's really been that big a change in Ijero's philosophy. I think a lot of it has just come from effort. It's just been a lot of effort. It's been a lot of, edge setting. I talked about this earlier. I watched the play where Nick Scorton, Justin Fields was getting ready to scramble. Had Nick Scorton not had the edge set, moved his guy out of the way and was right there waiting on him coming in that direction, he probably would have, scrambled for probably 30, 40 yards or more, because one thing about Justin Fields, man, if he gets loose, like, he'll make you pay for it. Right. And so, if he hadn't set that edge, then, Justin Fields wouldn't have turned the other direction, went back towards the line of scrimmage, and then Derrick Brown just mauled him. You know what I'm saying? So I think things like that, man, situational awareness, Nick Scorton isn't showing up huge on the, stat sheet as far as his sacks are concerned. But I said this earlier, man, like, I'm a big pressures over sack guy. Like, go look at some of it wasn't just Philadelphia. Look at Kansas City the year that they won the Super Bowl. Some of the years, they don't have guys that are like killing it in sacks. Hey, last year, the sack leader, he didn't even make the playoffs. Trey Hendrickson, you know what I'm saying? TJ Watt has been a consistent sack leader. Doesn't matter, because if you're not good in the run game, if you can't set the edge, if it's not constant pressure, then what does it matter, right? So I think that pressure and the edge setting has been one of the biggest differences. I also think that, like I said, you got some smart players and you've got some guys that have really stepped up to the plate. I know we talked about Trevin Wallace and, how his situation has changed for him. But, like, Trevin Moehrig, man, I was saluting Mike K earlier, talking about how he called a shot. He said he felt like Trevin Moehrig was going to have a huge game, and he did, right? He was a huge part of what the defense was able to do, especially when they created not just the pressure from the four, but they brought the blitz, and he was the guy that usually blitzed. So, yeah, salute to them boys.
Well, I mean, and I'd like to give, Vero credit on the fact that look how he's using Trayvon. I mean, you literally have no idea where the kid's going to be from play to play. I mean, he may be blitzing, he may be setting the edge himself, and he may be, running deep quarter, protecting the end zone. One of the big things that I really liked about yesterday was the fact that when you move certain guys around, other guys can step up, and we just haven't had. I mean, we talk about did he have talent? And at the end of the day, last year, he just didn't have the talent. He had guys hurt. Other than Clowney, we didn't have any real kind of pass rush pressure. But even with somebody's in the chat about, talking about getting their hands up. I mean, dude, if Derrick Brown can't get there, he's going to get his hands up and try to knock something down.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah, the effort part of it is definitely ramped up. But, effort is a thing that definitely, reflects leadership. You know what I mean? As Brother Julius told Gary Bertier in Remember the Titans, attitude reflect leadership. So they, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they're reflecting the leadership of Vero, and, they're starting to produce in a way that you can't really deny them at all. I mean, a lot of people want to, You beat the Jets. It was ugly. I mean, a couple different throws, we could have, scored some serious points. But you look at the Broncos, who are 5-2, they had them struggling as well. I mean, they have a really, really good defense. But that's the big part of beating a team like this is our defense stepped up to the point. When is the last time, we have been able, as Panther fans, to say our defense held us down and pulled us out of this one?
It's been a while. It's been a while. Now, I will say that there were moments, we've had flashes, but it hasn't happened as consistent as it has in the previous years from, like, let's say 2019 and back, right? So there have been flashes, but it's not been a consistent thing. And that's what you, like, look, on every, in every corner of this team, man, it's like consistency is going to be your main thing. Trevor Etienne, consistent as a returner, right? Bryson Tremaine, consistent as a blocker. Xavier Legette, consistent in his routes, his hands, man. He had a catch. You commented on this yesterday. Bryce threw him a ball, and he had a catch that, one, in most cases, X might have dropped. But last year. But, man, this year, man, in addition to that catch that he had in the end zone on the fade, you know what I'm saying, that was so heavily anticipated that he literally had to look around the defender to get the ball. He put two hands on it. And then this one, which was a similar situation on a crossing or a dig, where he kind of, has to go down a little bit because it's, not a pass that's like, right in his vicinity on the numbers, but he contorted his body to be able to get it. And I ain't gonna lie, I thought he dropped it. And then I looked and I was like, dang, X caught that. Like, okay. Like, so, I mean, yeah, it's consistency, man, all across the board. And let me get to this super chat from my man, Willie Smith. Salute to Willie Smith for the super chat. Willie Smith says, sacks are sexy, but pressure bust pipes. I am going to say to that, brother Willie, you are right. And then I'm going to give that the biggest of pauses. So, appreciate you, Willie Smith.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, man. Pressure, when you've got the kind of, it takes a separate, level of every defense to be able to apply pressure. I mean, you got to have good coverage on the back end. You got to have linebackers who cover in space, especially if you're running a zone concept. But yeah, pressure changes everything for everybody. I remember watching like Tom Brady's last year in New England, and they played a game against the Ravens, and the Ravens were just blitzing every single play. I mean, there were a couple where guys were wide open, and he threw it in the dirt because he did not have time, to set his feet. And it's just from any quarterback, from the greatest to do it to middle of the road, good starters, whatever, terrible. I mean, when you get that pressure on them, it changes everything.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so let me ask you a question real quick. Do you think, I know we're not doctors, so we don't know specifically, but, I'm going to read you what Dave Canales had to say in regards to Bryce and, whether or not this could be a sit down for him this week. He says, we're evaluating for the right ankle, so we're taking all the information and we're going to look at him when we get home some more, and we'll see where we're at. We'll look at that and We'll look at that and see what the best version of us is. But right now, it's running the football. And Andy can handle all those things and the pass game, the reps, the time on task with the group that we have. We got to stay within the core of our system. And Andy's fully involved in that. So if he does play, that'll be the mode. In your opinion, do you think he plays this week?
It just depends. I mean, I don't know for sure. I do know that the flight back will, increase some of the swelling. If it's that kind of,
that's significant, and that's not something I've seen anybody else say. That is very significant, Brad. I'm glad you said that. Continue.
So I mean, and on top of the rehab process, it just depends on how much he can use his athleticism to get out of trouble. That's the big thing with injuries at quarterback is, other than Byron Leftwich at the end of a Marshall game being carried down the field, we've never seen a guy super hampered by a lower leg injury be able to get himself out of trouble, complete passes. So it just basically, I mean, we'll wait on the updates. It was an ugly play. It was a weird play. I think a lot of people were saying the guy led with his, feet, which I feel like he was struggling with the, he put a little juke on him, turned his back, tried to bail out of the pocket, but he did. He ended up kicking him, turning his ankle. So I just, I hope it's not anything as serious as what McCarthy's dealing with. But as far as the question's concerned, I just wait on the report for day to day. But at this point, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So let me ask this: do you think what is your faith in Andy if he does get the start? That's a better question.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's kind of like, what option do you have? As a Panther fan, of course, I want Andy to do well. In these spot duties, when you got a quarterback that is getting up there in age, in spot duty, you want them to be able to not have any turnovers, to move the ball when they have to. I mean, like yesterday, 3rd and 8, great throw. I'm thinking about, best case scenario is 319 yards, 3 touchdowns like he did against the Raiders last year. And he did it, I remember the announcer, Andy Dalton and his rookies, you know what I mean? Like, he really spread the mustard between Excel and Jatavion Sanders.
Yeah.
I think this year he's got a lot more options. You got a healthy Jalen Coker. You got T-Mac. You got Excel breaking out. Mitchell Evans has been a revelation. It was, good to kind of hear his history. We were talking last week, and just the fact that he was a first, second round tight end. he got injured, last year. And so that kind of made people forget about him. And, we snagged him up late in the draft. And, man, him and Tommy Tremble, they block, like I said last night, they block like somebody's got a gun to their head. I mean, them guys finish, they engage, and they're real nasty on the run game. So, I feel like the 4-2-5 that Buffalo's been running has just, made them 30th in the league in rush defense. They don't have anything up front. If Damian Lewis comes back and we're able to establish the run, I'm very positive that we can get a win.
Agreed, man. You talked about Mitchell Evans. There were some people in the chat that I saw mention him. Was like, man, y'all need to talk about Mitchell Evans. Brad, of 84, excuse me, my apologies, of 75 available starting tight ends. Now, use this for what it's worth, because, again, these are just advanced stat metrics. Who knows where they get all their data from to compile the things that they put together. But yet and still, you can use it as a barometer of to project what is and can be. Mitchell Evans is the number 1 PFF rated tight end in the NFL. Number 1.
Revelation.
Hey, trying to tell you.
I mean, wow.
Yes. He's got an 83.8 offensive total grade, a receiving grade of 78.9, and a run blocking grade of 75.7. And that's playing, let's see how many snaps. So 142 inline snaps, 21 in the slot, 4 wide, 36 on kick return, and 1 on field goal. And so this is not just stats that are coming from his special team numbers. Those play a role. But these are because of his, the numbers that you're seeing from him, like, on the field. And not to mention, we have seen a lot of him lately in the starting lineup in meaningful situations. I think that's a revelation. Personally, I think Mitchell Evans is tight end 1. That's just me. Now, I'm sure some people will push back on that, but that's my opinion.
Where's the, it's hard as a Panthers fan to think about having depth and an embarrassment of riches at any position since the post-Rivera era, but we have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Tommy Tremble, his whole thing was tight end / H-back / fullback. But, I mean, he wasn't a pass catcher, per se, coming out of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
He's caught everything thrown to him. You know what I mean?
He has, yeah.
Then, Mitchell Evans, he's had some tough catches, but just more so than the catches and the blocking is, like the IQ, the ability to sit down in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The ability to create leverage. I mean, the kid's just doing it all. And then, sometimes the nerds get it right. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
These grades are indicative of what we're seeing on film and on tape.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy, Ricky Raines, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. Says, good seeing you back this Victory Monday, John. Yes, indeed. Keep pounding, brother. Yes, thank you. Panther Pickle, what's up, man? Glad to see you here, too. And Scott R says, wow, as a rookie, too, talking about Mitchell Evans. Vietnam says, I can see some of Greg in his game. He looks faster than Olsen, too. I'm going to go slow on that one, but I feel what you're saying.
Not G-Rig.
with the third leg. All right, man. We got 183 people watching between 2 platforms and 63 likes. Y'all make sure to smash that like button, subscribe button, and bell notification. So you never miss a video. I know that only 40% of people that actually watch my channel are subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come through for some of the good content.
Yeah, cut it out.
All right. So let's move along, man. All right, man. Look, we got to do this. This is going to be where the rubber meets the road. This is where we probably going to – the fan base is literally split on this, right? Depending on who you ask and who you talk to, many people have a split personality when it comes to who they believe should be running back 1. So yesterday we saw Rico Dowdle, one series, then we would see Chuba. Then we would see Rico, then we would see Chuba. And then there was one series where you saw, Rico primarily, and then Chuba came in as well. But it was kind of the back and forth. And Mark Schlereth, who some people have a problem with, some of his criticism of the coaching staff or the team or whatever like that. I personally like that he's called us out on some things because I think it kind of keeps you honest. But Mark Schlereth was not a fan. He was not a fan at all because he talked about how, Rico, number one, is one of those players that, and I want to show you this real quick. If you guys, Brad, I don't know if you can see this, but I do want to show this just while we're talking about this topic before we really, dive deep into it. But part of the reason that, he has such a issue with this could be because of this. So I saw this clip yesterday, this consecutive games with 230 plus scrimmage yards in NFL history. So Rico's on that list. Le'Veon Bell, 2014 is on that list. Deuce McAllister in 03 is on that list. Marshall Faulk, Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer on that list. Walter Payton, Hall of Famer on that list. Jim Brown on that list. You've got okay, look, I get it. When you look at some of these guys, when you look at Lev Bell, drafted player, when you look at Walter Payton, drafted, Marshall Faulk, drafted, Jim Brown, drafted, it seems unconventional for Rico, right? Because of his, where he came from, how he got to this point, the lead up to it, if you will, right? But I do think that in some respects, you have literally found lightning in the bottle, caught lightning in the bottle, I should say. And with a hand this hot, it would just be very hard for me to make that change. And I talked to you about this yesterday, Brad. I said, I think the next step in Dave Canales' career is going to be his ability to make very, very hard decisions, right? Ejiro Evero, it might have been a hard decision for you to get rid of DJ Johnson. Look at how Nick's setting the edge. The decision was made for you. See you. Once upon a time, the San Francisco 49ers with Alex Smith were 12-4. They literally almost made it to the Super Bowl if not for, and I can't say this definitively because you don't want to say that a game comes down to one play, but hey, if Kyle Williams doesn't muff a punt, then they beat the Giants and likely go to the Super Bowl. Who knows what happens, right? Drew Bledsoe went to a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots in 97. People forget that, and they lost to Favre. He was on that team. He was the starter, right? He was the number one overall draft pick for that team. And Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh made some extremely difficult decisions. We're seeing that a little bit of that happening up in Chicago right now. I think there's a chance that DJ Moore will be on the trading block because he doesn't necessarily fit what Ben Johnson is trying to do offensively, right? But he's made that hard decision of hey, I don't care if you fit. It's about wins, all right? So this is one of those hard decisions to make. Jim Harbaugh, when Alex Smith gets hurt, Colin Kaepernick comes in, has an incredible game against the Saints, and he becomes your starter. Drew Bledsoe gets hurt. Tom Brady comes in, leads you to a Super Bowl. We're not going back to our number one overall pick. We're staying with the hot hand. Man, I'm glad you did, right? I'm not saying, people take, if you look at Chuba and say, man, he should be, I'm not going to go extreme, right? I'm not going to say Chuba should be traded because I think that's insane, right? But what I will say is that a guy this hot with rhythm should get the lion's share of the carries because there's only 6 people on this list. Consecutive games, not one, not a flash in the pan. Consecutive games with 230 plus scrimmage yards. And he's one on the 6 of that list, right? Even yesterday, let's go to what it looked like yesterday. 17 carries for 79 yards versus 14 carries at 31, right? Now, Chuba, no doubt, had a big-time catch, got on the perimeter and made something happen, right? But it looks different. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, and I know people get frustrated with it. It just looks different. What say you?
Well, the thing is, as bad as we've been, Chuba's kind of been the best of what we've had. I mean, 1,200 yards rushing last year. But I don't want to and that's the thing. I mean, it keeps you kind of on your toes, and not on your toes. It keeps you on your heels about stepping out there and making the overall, punch to the gut take, but I mean, people think, double trouble, because that's what we always, that's what we've always heard. Double trouble, you need two good backs. We've also heard, that as Panther fans, I mean, double trouble this, double trouble that. But like we've always had, two good backs.
Mm-hmm.
But man, one has always been complimentary until it was their turn to carry the load. I mean, if you look at D'Angelo Williams and you look at Jonathan Stewart, until D'Angelo, ended up going to Pittsburgh in free agency, he was the number one back, and it was like a 70-30, 80-20 split. When you look at Stephen Davis and Deshaun Foster,
yes,
it was a 80-20, 75-25 split. When you look at Deshaun Foster and Nick Goings, it was a 90-10 split. And you remember when Deshaun got hurt in the playoffs in the Chicago game, Nick Goings kind of came in and finished, but you've seen what we looked like when we had to go and play Seattle that next week.
Yeah.
So is Chuba basically a Nick Goings type? I mean, he works hard. We root for him. But is he kind of the difference maker that you hold a guy back like a lightning rod like Rico for? You know what I'm saying? And that to me, because I mean, I said some things, a couple weeks ago about Chuba, and I, did some research. I mean, Chuba's 6'1", you know what I'm saying? He's almost, I mean, he's taller than Rico. He only, weighs like 15 pounds less. But man, like you said, it looks different.
It does.
I mean, the vision, the comfortable catching ability, the catching and transition upfield. I mean, you saw both of them had a play yesterday. And as a run-first team and as a physical team, which it has surprised me that, Canales being a young guy has galvanized these players to play like a Steve Wilkes-led team where you do, or a Jim Harbaugh team where you smash teams in the mouth, run play action. You need the kind of running back that's a home run hitter every play.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You need the kind of running back in there to where he's going to get you 150 plus yards rushing. And like I told you last week, one of the greatest parts of being a smash mouth run first team, man, is in the fourth quarter. And we saw, Trey Diggs out there with his hands on his hips, bending over, looking like he was about to vomit at the end of the fourth quarter when we're holding the ball for a 6-minute, drive to kick the field goal to win. You cannot express or downplay how big that is.
Yeah.
And as much as that defense was on the field yesterday for the Jets, they didn't look like that at the end of the game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I mean, and to Schiller's point, you go from 2-yard gains to 12-yard gains. Same offensive line, same play calls. And I like I said, I mean, I take no pleasure in that take, but when we're playing Buffalo, like I said, I mean, you've seen how Bijan Robinson did Buffalo last Monday.
Yes.
There are going to be some opportunities for some big plays in the run game, and I would rather it be, 15, 18, guys' hands on their hips, more so than 3 yards, loss of 3, sometimes hit for 6. So you got okay. And lastly, I'll say this. When this first popped off in the Miami game, we really did have a 50 split, with the fan base. But I've definitely, put my ear to the streets, and people are leaning towards what happened with Dowdle yesterday, because the offense did look clunky. And a part of that is, Jalen Coker coming back, you implementing, Jatavion Sanders back in the game. But a lot of that was the fact that there were several, carries for loss by Chuba that we haven't seen in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Scott R. in the chat said that, Rico might have done it for 3 weeks, if he had, got the lion's share of the carries yesterday. I just don't think that you can get away with doing what you did yesterday to Buffalo, because the game can get away from you really quick, and I do think that there's a bit of a loyalty factor there, right? But again, this is where you have to make the hard decisions. This is why you get paid the major salary as a head coach. This is why, and I hope that it doesn't come down to, because here's also a thing. One of the things that's different with the Jim Harbaugh versus the, and Bill Belichick versus a Canales situation is, one, I don't know that, what Jim Harbaugh did in the regard of, benching Alex Smith, at that point, a winning quarterback for Colin Kaepernick, isn't part of what made him run sour with Trent Baalke, right? That could be a thing, because I know that, when you have that much winning, I mean, even in their down season, they were 8-8, you know what I'm saying? And like, for that franchise to win that much in that shorter period of time and flip and turn around that fast, and Jim to move on, because of a rift between him and the front office, was significant, right? And the difference with Belichick is, like, he was running the show. So, I mean, he made those personnel decisions. So I don't know what's coming from upstairs. I know this, though. The one thing I do love about what's coming from upstairs is that it comes from, there's influence around it. When you play with a guy and you have success, or even if you didn't play with Dan Morgan, but you're one of the Panther guys that have had success, when you start hearing, this is why I love, like, I love this and I hate this at the same time, right? So a little bit of a rant. I think part of what makes those decisions so difficult for Dave Canales is too much visibility, right? Dave Canales talks a lot in his press conferences, sometimes to a fault. And I'm like, yo, dog, you ain't got to say everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can keep some stuff close to the vest. But then at the same time,
sometimes the good it is what it is definitely warranted.
Exactly. But at the same time, though, when your obligation is not just to come to the press conference, but now I got to go sit down with these three doofs and give, like, my, a take on what happened, during the week, and I hate to, refer to Anisha, and I'm not, that's not probably right for call them deuce. But the point is, it's just like, I got to go sit down and talk to these guys about everything that we had going on, win, lose, or draw. I'm like, yo, maybe I don't want to talk about some stuff. Y'all are asking me questions that I might not want to answer, but because of the type of guy I am, I'm going to answer them. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm going to get questions about the Rico situation when we watch the huddle or whatever they do, where he's sitting down with those guys, which, again, from an accessibility perspective, I'll be honest with you, I don't like it personally. And the reason is because I don't think that he should have to answer some questions, over and over and over again. Give me some time to think about what I'm going to do in this situation. And then they'll basically take those clips and be like, well, you said this last week or whatever. And it's just like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm answering the obligation, So I do think that from some perspective, the visibility of him, I don't like as much. But then there's the opposite side, the visibility of someone like TD, who has a really strong relationship with Dan. And TD keeps saying on these puddles, like, man, Rico. You know what I'm saying? He's saying it without saying it. You know what I'm saying? He is saying it without saying it. That should be your bell cow running back. Hey, I've seen it before. I was on the team with D'Angelo and Jonathan Stewart. And yes, it was amazing, but D'Angelo was the guy. You know what I'm saying? Even that year that it was the whole double trouble thing, man, D'Angelo almost had him by like 400 or 500 yards, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, there is a hierarchy. This is not I think what they would like to do is the whole, what they're doing up in Detroit, right? And that works for what they're doing. But for us, man, look, you don't find these situations. Brad, I talked about it because many people would look and be like, this isn't supposed to happen. Rico's not supposed to be this good. Now, according to Shane Laws, my old high school gym coach, who was Rico's football coach many years later, because Shane Laws actually took over for, I believe, McCormick, who took over for Bobby Poss, who was the coach at AC Reynolds High School at the time that I was there. And Shane Laws was on staff as Brian Craig as well. But and real quick, salute to Brian Craig, man. Shout out to Brian Craig and the whole Craigtown family, man. Y'all stay in our prayers. Helene did a number on my city, man, but nothing more than what happened to Coach Craig and his family, man. So we're gonna continue to keep y'all in prayer. But Shane Laws was talking to David Newton, of all people, interviewed with ESPN, and he was talking about like how this wasn't a surprise, as far as what Rico was able to do. Like, he was actually shocked that Rico went undrafted, right? And so you go undrafted, And maybe there was some things that you brought into the league that, these things need to be cleaned up. We talked about this with XL. You got some things that need to be cleaned up, but with XL, unfortunately, because you have the weight of expectation where you were drafted, I got to do this right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to wait. That's why I was saying this whole Andy Dalton and XL relationship, it's a thing, right? Because I got to clean this up right now. It's got to look good for me right now. Well, with Rico, it didn't necessarily have to. Rico got the running back version of the Aaron Rodgers treatment. Aaron Rodgers come in the league, holding the ball like this whenever he's dropping back the pass and then throwing the ball. Go watch his Cal tape. Go watch the pro days and all that kind of stuff. But I got 3 years to change my throwing motion because I ain't going to see the field for a while. And the same thing existed for him. Sitting behind Zeke, sitting behind Tony Pollard. I'm just soaking up information. When I get my few little chances, I'll catch a ball here and there, catch a touchdown pass, and people start to look and be like, man, this Rico kid might be something. And then the moment I get my chance, what do? I rush for over 1,000. The first chance I get. And then I come to Carolina, and in 2 consecutive games, I have 230 plus yards from scrimmage. Like, yeah, it's a real thing. This is not just a flash in the pan. And I think that they're going to have a very, very difficult decision to make starting this week.
Well, I mean, I definitely feel like Rico, everything about him is chip on shoulder guy. You know what I mean? Is everybody doubted me guy. To going from, being undrafted to the Cowboys stifling his chances by bringing back a washed up Zeke, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He had to sit for years. And like you said, I mean, he made the most of his opportunity last year, but even on film last year, like he did not look like this imposing. He did not seem to, run with this kind of fervor. And, like Schlereth was saying yesterday, and as a former, offensive lineman, like that is a thing. When you see your running back, what you do is you open the holes, and then he gets in there, he gets 5 or 6. Then you see him break a tackle and makes that 6 and 8 to 10. Mm-hmm. Even on plays like where you don't do your job as well. There was a pulling play yesterday where Brady Christensen pulled to the left, and he got a hand on the DB, but the guy still had a chance to make the tackle. Mm-hmm. But Rico don't come down with arm tackles. Yeah, you appreciate that as a lineman because in the film room it's going to be, hey, you got to get more of an established block. You got to get to your spot. And everyone is happy for everyone. Everyone is supportive. But like you're saying, we are dealing with professionals here. So everybody's a professional. And, at the end of the day, it's business. And when mm-hmm. And this is a big reason why people are so against signing running backs to big contracts. I mean, you think about you had to sign Chuba just for the culture, just for like the guy works hard, even in the trenches, even in the doldrums of, terrible records year after year. I mean, he pulled, like I said, 1,200, out of a very, very just completely ridiculous set of circumstances last year. Bad defense, Bryce struggled, Andy Dalton, all the turnover. Chuba was constant. But you can't – I always liken back to the Cincinnati game last year. You know what I mean? That was right after the Hurricane Helene. Mm-hmm. My job had, got me a hotel room down east so I could still work. And because I didn't have any power or anything like that. And I'm super excited that Sunday to watch the game, a little bit of relief, a little bit of, getting your mind off of the things that are really, plaguing the western part of the state. Mm-hmm. And, man, they come out swinging, boom, all the way down the field. Great play call, great succession. And then they go 4 and out on the goal line because Chuba can't get in the end zone. Mm-hmm. Certain plays, we talked about this, the last couple times we talked, certain plays as a running back, you got to bring your own blocker. Rico provides that. Chuba hasn't. And so that is, those are the indictments you look at when you think like, listen, I've got to get this, 3rd and 1, this 4th and 1. I've got to have somebody to carry me in the end zone. I got to have somebody to break those kind of tackles. And that's kind of what I alluded to when I was talking about size before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chuba's just as big, but, at the end of the day, it doesn't look the same.
Right. I want to highlight something that Panther Pickle says. Salute to my man Pickle. He says, my issue with the play calling on 3rd and 4th down when the Jets clearly knew we were going to run it on 3rd and short. So a play action pass would have been made more success. I agree with that. And then he talked about the as far as the cap numbers and stuff like that, the Chuba deal. He says the Panthers can save $4.2 million trading Chuba if they wait till next season. They can save $6 million. I know it is very difficult to draw the conclusion of trading Chuba Hubbard. That's very tough to just say out loud, when you think about what he's done. And I'll be honest with you, look, if you're one of those people that believes that he should be traded, salute to you. I personally don't think you should do it. However, I do think, again, you're going to have a very difficult decision to make. And this graphic that's on the screen beside me cannot be understated because it doesn't happen often. And there's a reason why, right? And who knows what would have happened if he had an opportunity to play this game, especially considering his carries versus, the actual stat line, right? Sometimes you just find your Terrell Davis, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's undrafted. Sometimes you find your T.O. who's undrafted. Like, sometimes a guy comes from another team, Jason Peters, who's undrafted, who's one of the best left tackles in history, who was undersized. And that's the reason he was, undrafted, right? Sometimes these guys just happen out of nowhere. And I just wonder if you're in this situation where it is the Kaepernick and Alex Smith situation, where you're just like, hey, man, this guy was good, but, man, this is different. You know what I'm saying? And, look, we got to make a tough decision because I don't want to disrupt the rhythm. Because it's not just the running back who's affected by this. It cannot be understated, man, that the way Rico's running the ball and that bully ball mentality, like everything, Dave Canales knows this all too well, right? The Legion of Boom was not just the secondary. The Legion of Boom was the offense. The Legion of Boom was Marshawn Lynch. The Legion of Boom was Percy Harvin, Golden Tate. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys who were like biting kneecaps kind of guys. Cliff Averill, you know what I'm saying, on the defense, not the secondary. We're talking about just defensive tackles, KJ, Bobby, like these guys, but they all fed off of the same energy. What was the nucleus energy, ironically, of them starting to feel and find themselves? It was literally Marshawn Lynch getting traded from Buffalo, coming into that situation and running them in a division that nobody was over 500 into the playoffs and giving us one of the most memorable playoff performances we've ever seen. That type of energy carries. So when you see somebody like Rico doing this for 2 games, make no mistake about it. This defense, they get amped when they see that because they like him. But they like Chuba too, don't get me wrong, right? But like I said, it's different.
Well, I mean, and the alarming thing about that statistic is the fact that look at some of the, are we talking best back in the NFL type statistics? I mean, when you look at that consecutive games of 230 plus scrimmage yards, you look at usage rates. Mm-hmm. Look at a Christian McCaffrey. I mean, we're familiar with Christian McCaffrey. Catching, running, do it all back. You seen Mike Davis on the Raw Room where he was like, listen, man, he was about to throw up. And he still went in and got a carry and fell for a yard. And I was like, come on, man, give me some of them damn carries. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Their usage rates were through the roof. Do you see him on that consecutive game with 230 plus scrimmage yards?
Nope.
And it's like, listen, when you've got these kind of fireworks going off, you got to look to the sky. You got to be like, listen, man, mm-hmm. I'm all in on this.
Yes.
And, and that's the thing with these deals, man. Like, that's what we got Brant Tillis for. Mm-hmm. If it's time to, make a move with Rico and move on from Chuba at the end of the year, we can do that. We can, do that and see where our cap's at. But, for now, yeah, let him play out the rest of the season unless there's a hot buyer. Because there are people that are looking. These GMs are always searching. So if you've got somebody who is in a running back conundrum now. Like, let's say like Washington Commanders or one of these teams, and they do call and they're like, hey, we'll take that contract and send you a second or a third. Yeah, you got to pick up the phone. But for now, you do have to make that decision to where we're going to give our team the best chance to win.
Period. We got 208 people watching between two platforms, 74 likes. Make sure to smash that like button. If this is your first time on the One Carolina channel, only 40% of the people that watch the channel are actually subscribed to the channel. So be sure to hit the subscribe and bell notification so you never miss a video. Thank you for coming over today. We are just recapping the win between the New York Jets and the Carolina Panthers, where the Carolina Panthers edged out the New York Jets 13-6. Brad, one of the things that people are saying, and then we'll get back to our conversation in just a second, is they don't necessarily think that this win was, significant, as far as like, hey man, it was just the Jets, right? It was just the Jets. It was just the Dolphins, and yeah, I mean, if you want to say that, cool. Personally, I feel like the thing that I celebrate more than anything in this is like when you beat the teams. I heard somebody say yesterday, they were like, the Dave Canales is probably more proud of this team for winning this game than he is the 30-0 smack of Atlanta, just because they did something that they haven't been able to do consistently. Number one, and that's stringing multiple games wins together. So that this is our third straight victory. But also the fact that you went and won on the road when you hadn't done that yet, right? And this could have been a trap game. You could have, been feeling yourself a bit and gone in, kind of lackadaisical. And they got it done against a, stingy secondary where they held Tedero and McMillan to under 50 yards, right? And Xavier Legette got an opportunity to shine yesterday, but for the most part, offense was kind of stagnant, for the most part, for the exception of a couple of drives, right? But you went in and you got the job done and you beat the team that, even though most people, again, betting against Carolina now, I do believe that'll start to change this week. I think some people will, start to see conventional wisdom and say like, okay, maybe they found something here, right? Against Buffalo, especially coming to home where we don't lose. We hadn't lost, so far. I think that, you celebrate a win like this because it shows a change in the trajectory of your, because there's a lot of teams that probably should have won games yesterday. The New York Giants should have beat Denver, but they didn't. Brian Burns walking off, the sideline. They showed him in the tunnel, cussing about something. I'm not sure exactly what he was talking about. But
he got the offsides because he was hurt, and he was running to get back on sides when they ran a play, and so that give them an extra 5 yards. And I think some people were like, "Hey, man, if you're hurt, get down, stop the play, and if not, get your ass back on side."
Facts. All right, I do want to answer something real quick that I saw here that I thought was interesting. Hang on, I hope. Did y'all delete his comment? Do I have a moderator in the chat? Oh no, okay. I was gonna say don't delete this. I like the pushback. He says, y'all tripping. Rico running like this because he's trying to get a long-term contract. What if he doesn't run like this after he gets the contract, just like Ezekiel Elliott? Y'all got to relax. Did you watch Rico last year, or are you only watching Carolina? Because if you watched Rico last year, you would see that is not the case. Rico only got an opportunity because of injuries, right? So we can't say definitively that he's going to be Ezekiel Elliott or give up because he gets a long-term extension, right? But that's the game. You play like, look, some guys, okay, I could flip that on its head. The guy that we were just talking about. I'm old enough to remember people talk, or not people, Brian Burns himself actually saying that, the effort might not have been his maximum because he was, worried about his deal, right? Y'all remember that? So it happens to us. It may happen against us, but I don't think that that's the reason that Rico is showing the success that he's showing at this point, because he's only playing for a contract. I mean, if you want to say that's an extra bit of motivation, then I'm not going to argue with you there, right? Because you should go to work. It is not uncommon to show up to work every day, dressing for, working for, striving for the job you want, right? Most people lose that, especially a lot of young people in our generation, right? You should want to do better in life. You should want to, excel in your salary and all that kind of stuff. You shouldn't want to remain stagnant. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if Rico's motivation is, hey, I might get a bag if I go out here and get my mom out of Shiloh. You know what I'm saying? Like if you know Asheville, you know. You know what I'm saying? Or I might, get a bag and be able to take care of some extended members of my family or whatever like that. If what you're doing this year and you put up the numbers to prove it, you deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think but I don't think that's his only motivation. I mean, his motivation clearly, like think about it. My man been in the league for 5 years. He could have been mailed it in. You know what I'm saying? But when he got his chance, he showed improved. And then the team didn't want him. And then he went somewhere that did want him and did want to feature him. And look at the result. So, no, I don't think this is a flash in the pan, and I don't think that Rico's only doing this just to get a bag, right? But salute for your comment. I appreciate you, man.
Well, the dude's an undrafted free agent who is now pushing to be a consistent 1,000-yard back.
Mm-hmm.
Guys just don't lose the chip on their shoulder because they've arrived.
Right.
If he stays healthy, he's going to run like this until he's not healthy.
Until you know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Yes.
I mean, people always throw that out there, and like it's a negative thing to me. What are they going to do once they get paid? Well, you could say that about literally every player that's ever played the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and you really could. Yeah.
So it's like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? What if Xavier Legette takes off? What if Nick Scorton, finishes with 10 plus sacks? What if, Princely? I mean, oh man, are they just going to stop playing once they get paid?
Right.
You got to understand that for the most part, it takes a certain level of dedication, of a certain level of, a certain level of love for the game to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get here without the discipline it takes to, like have, things, especially now the way they're getting paid in college. I mean, guys have money when they get to the league. I think Rico maybe, come out of college a little bit before this. So he is trying to get that bag. But that's just a, correlation of playing well.
Mm-hmm.
You play well, you get paid. That's it.
Period. And I mean, like I said, it can't be understated. And Rook was, he kind of, made his point. He said, I don't think it's his only motivation. I'm just saying we got to relax with the trade talk. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm with him on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of trade talk in the chat. I mean, I get that. Knee-jerk reaction stuff. Yeah. I mean, I understand what he's saying there. But again, it's undeniable.
Yeah, and I mean, here's part of what's undeniable. Now, I'm not saying that it's an equal equivalent, so please don't take it this way. But like Scott said, I think Rico had a good game against us last year. Anybody remember when Deion Sanders torched the San Francisco 49ers? And then they were like, yo, you want to come over here? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then the same thing happened against Dallas. And they was like, yo, you want to come over here? And it's like, or Charles Haley. Hey, man. They treating you wrong over there. They won't let you, but they won't let you pee on the the manager's desk. They won't let you bust your head into the, the drywall. Come over here. We don't mind it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, you pull them over there, and now you getting the same results. That's what happened. We saw, look, against us. That's really that's the game that put Rico on the map. Was when he came in and did what he did against us. The same thing we saw him doing against the Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, oh, okay, this is different. So then you go out and you're like, hey,
who is this guy?
You want to come home and be a megastar? Let him win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? And look, let me just say this. I'm going to ask this question too. Are we a playoff team? I mean, look, we got a lot of good teams playing right now, but nobody, to me, this is one of those weird years where it's like it's a whole lot of good, but not great. Nobody's really running away from anybody. The only team that I could say is the quote unquote great team that I would be terrified of if I was in the AFC specifically are the Colts, because Jonathan Taylor is legit on some Rico type of stuff, right? And Daniel Jones has been playing excellent. They're 6-1. And it's not like they've just played like, gimmies either. They played some pretty strong opponents. So that's fascinating. But this to me feels like one of those years where it could be like the Raiders versus Tampa. You know what I'm saying? Where the guys that you think should make it, right? The Eagles or, in the NFC, Washington, hey, Dallas played Washington well yesterday, right? We're on a 3-game winning streak. We win next week. The conversations, I'm telling you, we started to already kind of get some of that national attention when we beat Dallas. Let us beat Buffalo at home next week and watch what happens. If we beat Buffalo, the Carolina Panthers become a national story. If we beat Buffalo, the Carolina Panthers jump up into the top 10, or no, I wouldn't say 10 yet, but between, I'd say 13, 14, 16 on the power rankings, right? These are going to start to become very, very loud stories, right? Leading up to then Green Bay, and then a game that I'm likely going to be streaming live on Monday night, and that's against San Francisco. I look forward to that. I'll probably have a link where a few people will be able to, come in and show your face. I'll also have a phone line open, so we are definitely going to be streaming live on. It'll be the special edition of Mint Street Mondays where we stream live the Carolina Panthers and San Francisco 49ers, which I hope. I don't know this definitively, but I hope it's the only show in town that night, because lately they've been showing a lot of like doubleheaders, like tonight's a doubleheader, but hopefully that week it'll just be us and we're the marquee game. It would make sense considering the proximity of San Francisco, the timing and all that kind of stuff. But this is going to be this is a situation where you're going to start hearing a lot of national media attention, and I do believe that the Rico effect could take effect, a huge effect in that. So they're going to have to figure that out either way. But let me ask my man Papa real quick. He said, after Buffalo, I think the question could be answered. I couldn't agree with you more, right? I think that question will definitely be answered. But, Brad, we'll start with our last topic real quick. And I'll ask you, man, based on what you've seen so far, and maybe it takes the Buffalo game to solidify it for you, but do you think the Panthers are a playoff team?
Well, definitely have to see what they do after Buffalo and Green Bay. Mm-hmm. I do think we have an identity finally. Canales has always been like, oh, we're a power team. And then, the play calling really didn't match it. We could maybe attribute that to the fact of Rico's, breakout over the past, couple weeks. And so he's allowed to call the plays he wants to call. But, I mean, if you look up in Indy, I mean, the fact that they run the ball so well, when you're running play action, you got people running butt naked wide open. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that. We saw, Jimmy Horn yesterday. We saw Legette against Miami. We saw Jalen Coker a couple times yesterday. The Dallas game, consistent production. Mm-hmm. If Bryce continues to step up and be consistent, I feel like after these next couple of games, we can definitely make for the take of it, at this point, no. But again, players got to continue to grow. Like, we've got to hit those gimmies. Like you said, I mean, you hit Jimmy in stride in the Dallas game, mm-hmm. Start of the third quarter, that's 6. Yeah. You hit him yesterday in stride. Only person he's got to juke is a safety. Mm-hmm. That could be 6. You know what I'm saying? You hit Xavier Legette in stride in the Dolphins game. He can turn the corner. That could be 6. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got to hit those plays, and then we've got to make a decision with this Dowdle-Chuba thing. But our defense is, we got a top 10 defense, man. Yeah. And, you go back, you were talking about Aaron Rodgers earlier. We beat Green Bay a lot, mm-hmm. Especially in the Cam era. And the thing was, we made teams one-dimensional. Even if you don't have the best secondary, which we have a really good secondary, when you make a team one-dimensional and guys can pin their ears back and rush the passer because they can't run the ball, teams are going to have a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. I know Jordan Love is prone to throwing, a couple passes to the defense. Josh Allen, goes in and out of an MVP level. But I like, somebody said in the chat earlier, and they talked about it during the Atlanta game. What receiver do they have that you're scared of? You know what I'm saying?
No one.
When you're running that 4-2-5, looks like we're going to get Damian Lewis back this week. So we win these next 2 games, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. I'd say I'm, 85% in. we got a lot of trauma, man. You know what I mean? Like we've been through it, since 2019, since Tepper took over. But
Hey, hold
man,
on, real quick. I'm trying to see if my man, Pop, you're my man, but you better not be trolling. I'm going to look. Pop just said that. Oh man, dang, he wasn't trolling, bro. Man,
I ain't afraid.
oh man, we got breaking news, y'all. Bryce Young is out this week officially. Dang. Oh man, I don't like this. I don't like it at all, man. I don't.
Well, I mean, like I said, a couple games, I think we can power through. But listen, there was a route the route to Jimmy Horn yesterday. I feel like Andy can make that throw with time. You give him the same time you gave Bryce.
Hey,
The throw
Brad,
yesterday.
give me 2 seconds, man. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Pop, I don't like you, bro. I really don't like you. Pop, it's too many exclamation points. It's way too many exclamation points in that comment, dog. I'm about to give you the link because I really need to talk to you. Because I know, look, you don't know Pop. So Pop, that's my man. Pop, one of my day ones, man. So Pop been around for a minute. And me and Pop real cool. But Pop got a Bryce issue, bro. And I don't like this, Pop. I really don't, because I see those exclamation points and I know I could see I could tell the ish-eating grin on your face right now without even seeing you in person. And I'm bothered by it. He said I barely troll. I'm like, Pop, okay, all right, bro. But Brad, go ahead, man. My bad.
But I'm saying, so, I mean, and you think about the throw to Jalen Coker where the guy called up and knocked it down. If Andy can give us those throws, man, we can be competitive for a couple games. Our defense is not just going to fall off. We're still going to have a really strong running game. Like I said, my prayer is hope that he is not as cooked as he showed in the preseason. But this is why you have a backup that you continuously pay that's a veteran, and so they can come in and execute for a couple games. So, I mean, it doesn't hit me as hard. I do, because you do want to see Bryce continue to ascend.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man,
I love you too, bro.
I think we're going to be all right.
I do too, man. Aside from Pop, though, man, look, y'all, it's really people out there celebrating that Bryce. Really? Yo, this is nuts, bro. This is nuts. Hey, Panther Pickle, you might get your wish, man. Your dog, your Tennessee brethren. My guess is that, but Brad, me and you talked about this last night, man. It wouldn't shock me if they go try to sign somebody off the street. Like, but you know what? Hey, man, Hendon Hooker, here's your chance.
I mean, well, let's hope it doesn't get to Hooker. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be the Rico thing. I mean, guy gets his chance, balls out, but he would only play if Andy was hurt. And then after that, we, started to get worried because we don't have a guy who knows the plays on the roster outside of those three.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe, and I mean, I don't want to give away any kind of draft capital to, be in the Joe Flacco sweepstakes.
Yeah, I don't either. So someone asked a question. They said, and I saw somebody else ask about Corbett earlier when they were talking about him at left guard. They said the question nobody's asking is this Corbett's step back in the center if Damian comes back this week? Absolutely not.
Better not be.
Absolutely not.
I have seen 2 errant snaps in 3-4 weeks.
Barely.
2 errant snaps.
Mm-hmm.
How many did we see week 1? What, 6,
yes.
7?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing is, Corbett talked about, and I like that positivity. That's why, I feel like we have a good locker room now.
Mm-hmm.
Corbett talked about, and he was very positive just about like being a part of the group and getting in where he fit in.
Yeah.
He said, I wanted to come here after playing for the Rams. He was like, I like the locker room. He's like, we've been through some stuff together. And he's like, I'm just glad I could get out there and help.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that attitude. and do not look to start going forward.
Hey, Miss Rand, unfortunately, yes. And Pop, I know, man. I know your heart, bro. I know you just, it really is all just, funny. It's content, bro. But in Pop's heart of heart, and, cause I know him. Now, some of you niggas I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just keeping it a buck. But I know Pop, right? So, Pop ain't really wishing for Bryce Young to be hurt. I just mess with Pop because me and Pop have always had a back and forth about Bryce since he was drafted. But that's beside the point. But nah, Miss Douglas, it's real. There are going to be a lot of people out there that Panther fans that are happy that Bryce isn't playing. And I'm telling you, dog, let Andy go out and have the Raider game against the Bills and beat the Bills, and we end up 5-3. Oh boy, Mint Street Monday gonna be one of the more fun podcasts that I've ever done in my life because it is going to be insane. If you think the think pieces, like I ain't seen a bunch of them yet, so it's been a little tame out there right now. But them think pieces about XL and Andy Dalton. But boy, if Andy go out there and throw 350, Xavier Legette or Jimmy Horn or one of these guys go crazy and have a breakout game, man.
Well, I mean, you think about it, man. I mean, Penix carved him up last week. Bijan Robinson carved him up. We got a better offensive line. I wouldn't go so far as to say Andy is better than Michael Penix at this point. But I mean, we got the pieces to still be competitive. Everybody's back healthy on D.
Mm-hmm.
Minus prayers out to Brother Robert. That back injury is going to keep him out the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted the young guys to get reps. Now they're going to get the reps. Ransom. I mean, the thing about we are bringing the wood, dude. Like there was a kickoff play yesterday where Lathan Ransom, the lead blocker, he absolutely knocked the guy off his feet.
Mm-hmm. And got a flag for it. Yeah.
No, he didn't get a flag for that.
Oh, it wasn't that one? Okay.
No. The Jets were number 1 in the league in kickoff return.
Mm.
We've only had one bad game by our special teams, and that was New England.
Right.
Everybody shows up, plays their part, and that's like I said. I mean, that's why I'm on the fence about the playoff team because it does feel good to get these wins, but it's still like
Mm-hmm.
And then like what we were talking about earlier, man, about it being, they beat the Jets. So what? The Jets have a top 20 defense and a top 10 passing defense.
Let's go see.
You get that throw to Jatavion Sanders in the end zone, a couple of missed plays. Maybe we do score 22 and beat them, 21, 22 points and beat them 21, 22 to 6. But we still got the win. And like you say, it's important to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now these next few weeks, we've got to beat the teams we're not supposed to beat. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to beat the Bills, but one of my good friends, he used to always say, matchups are what, define fights.
Mm-hmm.
They are a piss-poor run defense team.
Yeah.
We are one of the best running teams in the league. Yeah. They can be hyped to start the game, but we keep leaning on them. I feel like we can run on them.
Mm-hmm.
And, Green Bay, Micah Parsons, hey, man. But we all remember watching Dallas last year and teams run it down their throat. When they played Minnesota, he was out there that day. He played 100% of the snaps, and Minnesota ran it down their throat, and Sam Darnold ate him up on play action.
Yeah.
So it is sad, like I said, for the arc of, and plus we're trying to define what we're going to do with Bryce going forward after year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, are we going to pick up options? Is he going to be our quarterback going forward? So it's tough to see that he's going to be out, but I don't see how this derails our season. Andy comes to play, especially if he gives a stat line like Las Vegas last year. Run game, defense, everything's still in place. And special teams.
I saw somebody point this out yesterday, and I thought this was right. One of the Bryce's ability to move around is one of his most valuable assets, right? And
Right.
this is where I think that, like, okay, I think this is a game. This is fascinating, man. This is a game-defining moment for Dave Canales because you just lost your quarterback. You're kind of going in between, hey, let me start Chuba, let me play Rico a little bit. But Rico's had these two amazing games where he's kind of carried the offense in a lot of ways, but also opened up opportunities. I talked to you about my boy, Real Ball Watcher. He was shout out to Mari, but he was talking about how Jimmy Horn has been such a huge addition to the running game, not just the running game, but also the passing game in his motions because you have to, account for his speed or whatever, right? And so Rico was able to play off of that as well. To me, this is the game where you like really lock in like, okay, Mr. 230 plus yards in 2 games and almost 100 yards last week. I'm going to lean on you, big dog, because I need you. You know what I'm saying? Against the 26th ranked defense, I need you. I need that 200, 200 yards a carry kind of, or a game kind of situation from you. And if I'm Rico, my response is, well, I only do it within rhythm. How do I establish rhythm? I got to keep seeing it. I got to see what they're giving me. I mean, that's the thing that can't be understated. And I'm not saying that this is the biggest difference between a Chuba and Rico, but it is fascinating because we don't think about it. Brad Izzett came out and said it. Dave Canales confirmed it. He called that inside zone toss. Rico, hey, man, can you please? Rico was like, I ain't called it, man. I just made the suggestion. But you saw it. You saw how they were overloading to one side or that they were laboring on one side and how what we have on one side, making a tight end on one side strong and say, okay, we can really exploit this with a toss because they're not penetrating direct, like off as soon as the ball snaps, right? It's taking a moment. So if we toss and you give me some momentum, I can make something happen. Explodes out of halftime, 53-yard run. You know what I'm saying? Like that
speaks to his IQ too, because I mean, you got to know we've got the kind of offensive linemen that are athletic enough to pull that off.
Yes, that is 100% an IQ, EQ type of play, right? I need that from you, bro, because if you do that and you get a fraction of Andy Dalton against the Raiders, we won't just win this game. The bank will be rocking. We will win it convincingly. Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to my boy Pat. He got accosted yesterday by a Bills fan. He went to the mall with his Luke Kuechly jersey on in Charlotte, and they was like, we'll see what's up this weekend. So it's a lot of Bill fans out here. You know what I'm saying? I've got a neighbor who's got a Bill Leave, vanity plate or whatever, and it's kind of like beating the Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like these older fans and these franchises from around here. And then, because some of them are bandwagon people, you know what I'm saying? Like I get transplants, you move to Charlotte or you move to North Carolina for a job or whatever. I get that. But people always ask me, man, like, why are you a Carolina Panthers fan? I'm like, because they're an hour and a half away. Like they're a tangible franchise. I go to their, training camp, you know what I'm saying? Like I see their players up in close. I go to Charlotte, I see Cam driving down the street on a scooter. You know what I'm saying? You go uptown, you see Luke Kuechly, getting a bite to eat. You know what I'm saying? That's why I root for the Panthers.
Right.
And so, yeah, it would feel really good to punch some of these Bills fans in the face. I remember when, we practiced with them a few years ago, well, not more than a few years ago. But just the, hey, yo, let's go Buffalo over and over. I was like, man.
Yeah, they be slamming people through tables and all kind of stuff. They got,
man.
It's a crazy fan
Call
base.
Themselves the Mafia.
Well, the one thing I like about, I will say this that I appreciate about the Bills, and actually I do have to speak a little bit favorably about them because I will be, so tomorrow I'll be recording, but I will be on a Bills podcast, the actual longest running Bill's podcast called the Rock Pile Report, and I'll shoot a link to that once it's done in my community page, so y'all can check that out. I'm looking forward to that. One of their guys reached out to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'd absolutely love to come through, and they might bring me over there and dunk on me, y'all. So hey, I might need some support. But I mean, it won't be live, so y'all can't like come over and like dogpile them, which I'm all about that, man. Like, hey, if I ever go, because I saw somebody was like they was watching a cowboy podcast, and one of the dudes said they was my brother, and that's right, my boy Jason from dang, I said his name. I know he don't want me to say that, but Angry Cowboys fan. Put my dog on blast. But
address and everything.
Right. But me and Angry grew up together, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's my man. So we've been friends for a very, very long time. And yes, he has been a diehard Dallas fan from the beginning, right? So yeah, salute to my man Angry. And we kind of had a little gentleman's bet. I think I was gonna wear a Cowboy jersey, and he was gonna wear one of my Keep Pounding shirts. Or whatever, which, by the way, if you want to cop one of the Keep Pounding shirts, you can see the link below any one of my videos, or go to onecarolinashop.com and grab you one of the Keep Pounding t-shirts. But Angry was talking about how, I can't remember what he was saying that was kind of crazy. He had called me while I was in the hospital, and we talked, for a little bit. But salute to my man Angry. But, yeah, man, I think with the Buffalo fans, man, like, I do like these cities where there's not a lot going on in the city, because like Charlotte's so different because there's so many different things going on in the city, right? And it's a banking industry and all that kind of stuff, so you have implants from everywhere. But with Buffalo, it is more just kind of centralized bills, right? Because it's in the it seems like the top of the world, in New York, where it's snowing like seemingly in June. And so, they do have a pretty dedicated fan base. But like you, I do like the things that you mentioned about Carolina and the homeness of it all, the southern hospitality of it all. And when you come here, you're different. You leave different. Most of these guys go on to be great members of society, most of us. And, do some really good things, out here. So, yeah, salute to all the Carolina faithful, man. But yep, breaking news, like I said, we're going to jump off here in just a couple minutes, but Bryce Young will not be playing this Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. He will be out, so this will be a very interesting week of conversations that Dave Canales will have. The press conference is likely coming up soon. I don't know if the press conferences are live yet. If they just happen to be live at this moment, then we'll jump on if they have started. But I don't believe that is the case. But we'll probably jump off and I'll watch it together. Dave Canales will probably give us a rundown of what to expect. I do think that, and I'll ask you this before we leave, Brad. I do think that the offense is going to look a little different. I don't think that some of these, the way that Dave Canales calls plays, he might open up a different side of the playbook. A little bit more motion. To try to fool the defense. Obviously, a lot more power running. I look to see Tommy Tremble in kind of that H-back role, and just kind of smash mouth Bryson Tremaine as well. A lot of 12, potentially 13 personnel where you're using all three tight ends. I can see a lot of that happening. So, I do think this offense is going to change a bit. What do you say?
Well, yeah, definitely there will be less motion, less QB waggle. And what I mean, by QB waggle is, the play action rollouts that get Bryce on the move, kind of shorten the field, cut it in half to where, he has more obvious passing lanes. There'll be a lot more empty, you know what I'm saying? And Dalton is, 6'2.5", 6'3" almost. He's going to be able to see some of those plays downfield that Bryce, kind of struggles with. The blocking won't have to be as basically is engineered, for Bryce to be on the move. We had the touchdown yesterday to Legette. I mean, if you've seen that and seen the kind of discipline they had to not run downfield and stay behind the line of scrimmage, but they also created a wall. I really would like to continue to see our screen game because, we all know how McDermott operates. He tries to go with just a base four, and then once you start eating him up, he starts bringing obvious blitzes. So I feel like definitely some of the routes that Bryce has trouble with, like the flag routes and the posts, some of those I feel like we'll be able to eat a little bit more on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they have a good secondary, but they don't have a Sauce Gardner.
No, they don't.
You know what I mean? And even still, man, I feel like that last play to T-Mac where the guy pulled him down, I mean, like, what the hell was going on there? Like, am I taking crazy pills? But when you drag a receiver down who's trying to come back to the ball, that's pass interference.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I think we're going to see a lot more. I think you're going to see a lot of downfield opportunities, one-on-one opportunities for Teteroy McMillan, which to me, I don't know if it's more the limitations of the quarterback or if it's more the game plan. I'm not a film expert, so I don't claim to be. But I do wonder, like, why those opportunities aren't happening more, because with a guy that's 6'5", with another guy, Xavier Legette, that's 6'3", I mean, that's a PI waiting to happen. It's you're going to get more of those calls than than you wouldn't.
Well, one thing I've seen is they are calling the offense more to fit Bryce's strength.
Mm-hmm.
His strength is, 25 yards out or 25 yards into the line of scrimmage. So a lot of the routes, more of the crossing routes, a lot of the deepest routes were running those deep digs that we saw Jimmy Horn run yesterday, Legette in the Dolphins game. So you could even see when Dalton came in, and that's what you were talking about, how Canales said, Andy knows the concepts, Andy knows what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday the game plan was play action rollouts, and when Dalton come in, they were still running play action rollouts. I still feel like they're going to do play action, but it's going to be the play action 3 to 5 step drop and then stick and throw. Mm-hmm. More so the rollouts, the mobility factor there. So they're definitely going to change the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I mean, you think about the Raiders game. I mean, he threw a deep post to Adam Thielen that got behind the defense. So I think it's going to change. But we're going to have to run the ball. We're still going to have to run the ball, and we're still going to have to hit them in the mouth, and we're still going to have to be physical up front. So that part's not going to change.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting,
yes,
man.
Alpha and Omega, we did watch Canales. He didn't bench Rico. He was rotating Rico. And they are calling to Bryce's strength. If you were trying to run nothing but nines with a quarterback with his limited arm talent, you would be not calling to his strength. The QB waggle, getting him on the move, having him on the rollout, is calling the game to his strengths. Sorry.
Got him. Packed him up.
Get him out of here. But one thing I do want to say, man, before we go, man, shout out to our defensive backs, man, for the way they play in the run game. If you'd have seen the way they packed up Sauce Gardner yesterday, because he had to consistently tackle,
mm-hmm.
it was hilarious, man. You know what I'm saying? Because It's like Mike Jackson, Jimmy Horn, Trayvon Mayrig, even Nick Scott to a point, but definitely Lathan Ransom. They come up and they tackle. They tackle in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
They tackle when guys are trying to run to the edge. They stand up wide receivers. They make tackles with one arm. They play, get their nose in there, get things done. And you see what happens when other teams try to do the same thing. So shout out to the defensive backs.
Yeah.
What they play in the run game.
Yeah. The defensive backs, the entire defense, the Panthers, in general, man. This was a good game. I was pleased with what I saw. And I think this is just going to improve, moving forward. Brad, yes. I appreciate you coming through today, man. As usual, my main, you know what I'm saying? Y'all salute Brad.
Hey, good to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Definitely was in the prayer closet, you know what I'm saying? We talked Sunday and definitely affected, how I think about, what we're doing, what we're building, and
Yeah.
how much mean to the process. My boy called me and was like, "Well, man, what do you think? Like, do you think you might go on?" I said, "Man, I don't know how to do any of that shit." Like, I said, "That's all form, man." You know what I mean? You know, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, no, my man is doing 98% of the heavy lifting. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's not true, man. This show wouldn't be this show without you, man. It wouldn't be the show without you. It wouldn't be the show without the people, in the chat. And I very much appreciate y'all. My boy said he went to church for me. I was like, man, he went to prayer class. I was like, hey, let's go.
You know what I mean?
Hallelujah. But all right. But anyway, man, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Listen, once again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification so you never miss a video. 40% of the people that watch my channel are not subscribed to the One Carolina Show. Today was Mint Street Mondays. We do this every Monday, barring any kind of, Lord willing, I should say, barring any kind of sickness. We do this every Monday as a reaction to the games that we saw. So we appreciate you coming through. Make sure to smash the like button. And yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. Look, Brad, any last words?
Nothing more than what we done already covered today, bro.
I hear you. So, man, I want to extend my condolences. I saw this yesterday to Doug Martin, a.k.a., if y'all remember, if you know, the muscle hamster. Man, boy, how well do we know that? But Doug Martin apparently passed away yesterday, and condolences to his family. I don't really know the situation. Don't want to speak on the situation. I just want to, offer my condolences to the family and all of his friends and former teammates with the Bucks. But yeah, man, stay safe out here, man. Stay safe, and like Nipsey said, stay dangerous. And hey, man, I just want to say, actually, you know what? I want to go out on a note. Let's do this real quick because I showed this earlier, Brad, and I want you to see this for yourself as well, because this is important, right? In the grand scheme of, everything that happened yesterday and how great, the team success was and all that kind of stuff. I saw this just late yesterday, and I'm not sure if you saw this, but this is a Buffalo Bill fan and a whole bunch of Buffalo Bill doofs standing around him burning a Bryce Young jersey. Did you see this?
Buffalo? Or was that New York?
New York. Excuse me, New York, not Buffalo.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, burning jerseys, burning equipment that costs money is the battle cry of the idiot. So
the battle cry of the idiot.
That's all I got to say about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. That jersey right there cost somebody $200. They just threw it in the trash.
It really did. And furthermore,
the only thing we can hope for is next time the wind will blow it.
Yeah.
And his Mr. Tight Pants there will have to deal with some issues itself.
Hey, I gotta say this real quick. You talk about tight pants. I used to my boy Chris in high school, man, we had this dude named John. I ain't gonna say his last name because I don't want to put him on blast, because John and I are friends on social media, so I know he'll probably be like, bro, why you tell that story? But man, he's when I was in school, man, Tommy Hilfiger jeans were all the rave, and it was like the Tommy Hilfigers that had the little strap on the side that had the Tommy logo and Tommy written in cursive, and everybody used to rock those, man. And John come into school one day with the tightest pants, and he was like an old country boy, and he had his shirt tucked in, and my boy Chris was like, man, you got on them Tommy hurt butts, and boy, I oh my God.
It's one of those things, like I remember the day that I found out that I was not that type of freak. I was in the club, and one of my friends I kicked it with, she was in there with some pleather pants on, and we was dancing and we was close, and it was to the point where it was making babies on the dance floor, and I seen a bead of sweat pop up in her pleather pants, and slide down her thigh, and I was like, all right, we're done here.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Type freak.
Man, let's get out of here, man. Look, hey, next time, y'all New York Giant fans, like I told y'all, man, look, pack y'all up real quick. Y'all got way, 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 way more ops to deal with before you even get to us. But, I mean, honestly, my reaction to you burning a Bryce Young jersey, make sure you put that Justin Fields in there too. You know what I'm saying? Because really, put the Justin in there. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, y'all did it. I'll see y'all next week.